I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence to let them in, chalk up their body, another one body, that's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, I to stay on the go. I came to play with the pros, and act like a rookie so they overlook me. Then I double up again, none of their knows, none of them cold. They just got lucky but never adapted, so I'm to the one if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close, I let them think that they got me, but what do you know?
Hey, how are ya?
Wonderful, wonderful. What about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Welcome to Startup on the Blocks. I see we still got a few founders signing on, and let's see what we got up here in the comments here. Yep. So welcome everyone. We are looking forward to a fantastic event tonight, and uh, got a chance to talk to a couple people networking. So looking forward to doing some more of that. So Mike, we're gonna what we're gonna do is we're gonna get um, uh, thank our sponsors. So I'm gonna kind of put that up here, and so you can kind of get a feel for how we do this thing over here in Pensacola, Florida. Yeah, so we're really excited to first start up on the blocks, and it's all about teaching founders the best practices for building a startup. And part of that, we have people like you, Mike, on that's been on this founder journey, so you can share your story so some folks can actually learn from your journey. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we couldn't do this without our sponsors, and you see them here. We're very grateful for them. They help sponsor our pitch competition. They help sponsor our training we have with the Lean Stack, where you can actually learn how to design a business model and get confident in what you're doing, so you can actually pitch it clearly and concisely. Recruit co-founders, get into accelerator programs, pre-accelerator programs, get into pitch competitions. That's what it's all about. But we thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us. Yeah, so get this thing to move here. So Mike, why don't you go ahead and just do a little quick introductions for yourself so people will know who you are.
Certainly. My name is Mike Michelle. I'm the founder of Care Trainer, which essentially is personalized walkthrough videos for in-home care.
All right, fantastic. That's pretty concise and clear. All righty. So next week we have Kimberly, and she's I think out of the Orlando area, and she is responsible for helping Black and Brown founders. She works with the Minority Business Development Center down down there, and they're responsible for supporting us. Were you over there in Tallahassee, Mike, and over here? So we're going to learn more about what their programs are all about. They have actually been helping us with our nonprofit as well, the Cool Institute. So we've got some really good help from them so far. And the following week, I'm in a weekly huddle with Deanna, and she has founded a great startup. And actually, it's actually a nonprofit, and she just came out of a accelerator for nonprofits where they give you a check for $25,000.
Wow.
So isn't that great? And she's all fired up. She's originally from Africa, but I think she's living here in the States now. But she's a go getter. So we got some good events planned for the next few weeks. All righty. So, Mike, does this look anything like your journey? And can you look at this graph and tell me where you are on your journey?
Certainly. Let me expand this one time. Where am I at with this? We are definitely in the value proposition stage. So that value delivery, making
okay.
That's certainly where we're at in our journey.
Okay, so that means you got your MVP out there, and you're trying to figure out that solution customer fit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so about how long have you been on your journey?
So we launched on February 14th at 4:01 p.m. this year in 2020. But the journey to get to this point has been the last 5 years.
Okay. So yeah, so that and so yeah, and so it can take time, to kind of move along. But if you had all the ideal things in place and everything was perfect for you, this is the kind of like the minimum amount of time that it would actually take for you to go through.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The process to get to the application, what we have now, to the App Store, was done within that year time, but there was other variables in place. Me actually providing care for the client, a friend of mine who I was with, and that's how that this problem or the solution came about, I would definitely say, don't just create a solution just because it sounds cool. Actually be wanting to solve a real life problem.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so yeah, and that's why I kind of throw this chart up, because I think a lot of people don't really understand that whole journey you go through, and that the first part of the journey is actually coming up with a business model,
Mm-hmm.
and designing the business model, and most people don't spend enough time on this, to kind of do it. But what we offer is the training that helps you, to teach you how to design your business model, because there's so many variations that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Companies have the same product, different companies have the same type product, but their business model may be different. So that's what the point there is. There's just different approaches. Everybody has different ideas, and your approach might be different than somebody else, and it might work out better than the next person.
Absolutely.
But that's what's the good thing there. But when you get down to the nitty gritty, I like this chart. I used to show it all the time, but there is a lot of entrepreneur activity out there. But if you want to take advantage of a lot of those activities that are out there, a lot of those things to help you out, you have to start with that individual mindset, and understand a little bit about what a founder is in this kind of ecosystem thing. But what we saw, and reason why I call this event best practices training, because you do have to learn the skills and the best practices for building a startup.
Yeah.
And there are skills that you can actually learn. But once you learn those skills, you got this big old ecosystem out there that you can take advantage of.
Absolutely.
But you can't. It's hard to get to the resources in the ecosystem if you don't know how to pitch your idea correctly.
Yeah, clear and conciseness. I definitely agree.
That's exactly right. And then when you're actually, you pitch it verbally, and you pitch in writing when you're filling out the application to do it. But you have to learn the best practice. Most people just get out there and start doing it, and think because like for me, when I was getting started on my journey, I would look at those applications, and I didn't know what they were talking about. But you have to learn what they're asking, and learn how to say it clearly and concisely.
And I would definitely recommend, even if you're not ready, go fill out one of those applications, because it forces you to be concise, and it forces you to think about questions like in a logical way. And then it also forces you to be concise, because it's only going to allow you to do a certain amount of characters.
Yes. Yeah. So that's an excellent point. Yes. Yeah. And so this is our kind of like our playbook for that we recommend to founders. That if you don't have a clue what it's like to be a founder, these are some things that you should do if you really want to take advantage of the ecosystem out there. And the mindset, of course, is like the chart before, and you got to have that right mindset. And then the methodology, the lean startup methodology, is the most lean way, or efficient way to actually move forward. So you have to be a part of the community, and in order to kind of take advantage of this, being an ecosystem, and have the mentors that are coaching you to kind of get through there. But we also have that startup school thing there, and the reason why we have that there, because not everybody has access to lean stack training. But if you're working with us, we get you access to the business model design part. No problem. But the startup school, it's free, and it'll help you understand. You work on your own startup while you're actually going to a startup school, and so it actually has some of the best practices. It's based on Y Combinator, who's been in the accelerator business. My goodness, almost actually, probably over 15 years, going on 20 years.
Mm.
And what's neat about the startup school, it gets you links to all their resources since they got started with the accelerator, Y Combinator Accelerator, way back in the 2005-2006 timeframe. And so anything question you got about being a founder, or a question you have about how to fill out a startup application, how to split up equity, all of that stuff, they got a library there. So, they pretty much open sourced everything related to being a founder.
Mm.
Yeah. And so, so I know you're familiar with F6S because you applied for our last pitch competition. So you had to, so was that your first time with F6S, or did you already know about
No, that was the first time. And I think everything that you just mentioned is very important, because first and foremost, outside of the mindset that you have as a founder, it is going to be a very lonely situation. And I think my prior role as a caregiver manager set me up for that pace. But I think also being in the mindset around other individuals who have the same mindset as you, which is essentially just to create and change the world in a dynamic way.
Yes.
If you have an idea and somebody is not challenging you on how you're going to accomplish that, you need a bigger idea. And I think what you're presenting to everyone is these open sources, and just getting around like-minded individuals is going to make all the difference in the world. But that was my very first time dealing with F6S.
Yeah, so that's probably the largest site for founders that there is. They got several million founders on that site, so you can look at all the profiles and everything. You can connect there. But so like the idea of the site is if you're a founder, you can actually build up your personal profile and your startup profile on there. But they also curate accelerator programs, pitch competition. They also list their applications on there.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go on there and see all a large percentage of the applications that are out there all over the world, and that you can actually apply for. But so that's kind of the way that works. And then the third component of it, that from a founder's perspective, is that there are a lot of companies out there that offer freebies for your startup, to support you on your journey. But you have to build up your profile in order to take advantage of those things. And so, like, I can't even imagine but the freebies are like in the millions of dollars of worth of freebies out there. And I always get an example, like Amazon gives away $25,000 in AWS credits for 2 years, plus 5,000 credits for that. I think IBM gives over $100,000 in credits for their stuff. But the whole idea is to reduce your cost of starting up. So if you can leverage some of these freebies, that's money you don't have to spend, and building your MVP and hosting your MVP.
Absolutely.
And stuff like that, because every little bit counts. And so joining and participating in the local communities, and so one of the things that you need as a founder, you need to be part of a cohort or community, so you can network with the other founders in that community, and you can hold each other accountable to kind of helping each other move forward. So if you're out there by yourself, it's really tough.
It is. But I'm going to keep it real with some of the founders that I know that's watching right now. Right.
Okay.
To be part of a cohort is wonderful. But many of us, when we're starting up, we're still working a 9-to-5 job, or we're still students, and that becomes hard to do, right? Because many people are there during the daytime. So. And that was a position I was in. I was working 12 to 12 every day in the work field that I was in. So I do understand being a part of a cohort is wonderful. I never end up being a part of a cohort before getting to that point. But I did do what you're insinuating was I did go to the B&I groups. I did go to other cohorts because there were business-minded people that had tentacles everywhere. So it is good to be part of something. But specifically, you don't have to specifically focus on being part of a cohort, even though that is the best thing.
Yeah, so kind of what I mean when I say that is it's like our event that we do, every Thursday night. That's a meeting place for founders, and so, but most, you have to kind of look at it, and that's the opportunity to connect and actually meet people. So that's all I'm really saying. So I'm not sure about Tallahassee, but most cities that have these strong ecosystems, like on Thursday evening. Same thing. Go in there there's a location, you go in there around 6, you network for about an hour, and then at 7, everybody splits off to whatever meetup they're going to.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're always learning, you're always connecting with people. And that's what the point I'm trying to make there on that. And so, yeah, but if you kind of do a lot of that stuff, then you can actually get connected to those resources out there in the ecosystem and take advantage of it.
I think that's a beautiful thing. Especially with Startup on the Box, because essentially what that does for you, if you have multiple people beginning to work for you, right? Because the moment you engage with somebody and you tell them about what you're doing and they're intrigued by it, or they just intrigued really by you, right? Mm-hmm. They begin to work for you and they begin to bring people into you, just connections. So I think that's huge.
Oh yeah. When people know what you're trying to do, when they see something, they can definitely connect you. Yeah, and what I wanted to point out, I always keep forgetting this. So we're rambling here, but look, folks in the audience, just go ahead and type any question you have about being a founder, because that's what we're here for. We're excited to have Mike sharing his journey with us, so we can kind of learn from him and that aspects of it. But yeah, that's kind of what the deal is. And so if you remember that bullseye chart I had with the founder in the middle, and then you had the skills and best practices in the center, and then on the outer edge you had
ecosystem.
Yeah, and so what I try to do here, I put the individual on the left there, and then the kind of stuff we try to do here at Startup on the Blocks, and if you kind of go through some of these things, you can actually unlock the value of all these programs that are out there in the ecosystem. It's literally that simple. So like a person like you, give you an example. So have you participated in like a showcase where they invite startup founders and like you have be a vendor in like a startup showcase?
Well, I'm going to one this weekend in Atlanta, and then I have one of the national Black Pitch competition, and that is August 30th, I believe, of this month.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that particular pitch competition, and so who's hosting it and
EYL is hosting it. It's called Earn Your Leisure.
Okay.
It's a platform. They started from the bottom up, and now they're doing big things. The structure of the platform is that you have 3 minutes. No, the other one's 3 minutes. This is 2 minutes to pitch your idea. In total, it's 4 minutes. The other 2 is left for audience questions and judgment and stuff like that. You do your walkthroughs, but more importantly, they give you 2 minutes to shine, and you have that opportunity to present yourself in a clear and concise way.
Yeah, gotcha. So how did you find out about that opportunity?
As a founder, no one is looking out for your best interest as much as you, and you shouldn't expect nobody to work as hard as you are on your startup. So it is just constant searching. That's it. And once again, I didn't find that somebody else found it who I told about my business. So once again, the more people you speak to, every single person that you run into, you better be telling them about what you do, because you never know where your blessings are going to come from. And that person ended up sending it to me.
Yeah. And so that's fantastic. So and this is the kind of the reason why I tell people about F Success, because when you build up your profile on F Success, all these programs out there, they're searching through your profile, and then they're going to start sending you, if they think you're a good match for them, they're going to start actually sending you stuff, opportunities. and so that's kind of that's a really good. So it's nice that when you're in the business and then people are sending you opportunities,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
but that's really the idea of F6S, and they're not the only platform out there. There's so many other platforms out there, and like I would say, like I'm trying to think. I was trying to think if I could quantify the opportunities I got that I didn't even look for. They people sent to me, and so the one of the opportunities I got that I think it was I ended up getting to do a project for Avis Budget and
Hmm.
Petroleum IBM, but they actually sent requested that I come based on what they had saw out there in the startup world.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing when I got an opportunity to go over to Poland, and the same thing. They sent the opportunity to me.
Mm.
Yep, and those two opportunities over $100,000.
See, that's great because I do realize that it's kind of like shopping at Walmart because it's just a slew of things that you can do. And I would recommend anybody that is going to use it, or are if you are looking for pitch competitions or anything, even if you're not ready, when you go fill out those forms, you copy and paste those questions and your answers onto a PDF or onto a document because every other thing is going to ask you for it, right? And then it's going to ask you for a pitch deck or business plan. So just have that ready, and it's just like you're filtering through a whole bunch of stuff because you never know what's going to land.
Hmm. Yeah. That's yeah. So, but that's kind of how this stuff fits together, and that's what the trying to communicate to people is that
Amen, Ronald.
yeah, yeah. The if just if you take your time and take a look at your business model and make sure you're pitching it correctly. You're not necessarily pitching your product, you're pitching how you make money with your product. And so if you can communicate those things clearly and concisely, and so we're we're here just to kind of get you to that point where you can actually take advantage of a lot of opportunities that are out there. So we have definitely have some mentors to kind of help out and give you feedback on your what you're trying to do and help guide you in the right direction. So, but yeah, we're excited, to have you on and to share some of your um, parts of your journey. But I guess I tend to start off, when I'm talking to founders and even if it's a resource in the ecosystem, just kind of get an idea, what got you started, when did you get into like high school, and you started thinking about career. What was your journey that led you to where you're at now?
My journey was not an organized journey. Once I got into the field of healthcare, I ended up running into a gentleman, and because my background is in health science and pre-physical therapy, I ended up getting into the workforce. And at that point in time, I ended up meeting a gentleman, particularly in the healthcare space. He was going through a few things, and one of the things in healthcare that we all see, particularly now, certainly during the pandemic, is that there's turnover. People are getting burnt out, and our situation was no different. And that led to a lot of different bodies coming in and out, and led to a lot of onboarding and training issues with new individuals coming in. So mine was not a straight and narrow path. It was, one of those situations that happened by chance, and I just took advantage of it. I seen an opportunity, and along the path, I just took it.
But like, so what led you to even get into the healthcare space?
What led me to get into the healthcare space was definitely, I was a horrible student. So I was a horrible student, and one of the things was my first thing was, I grew up in the project. So my background was not a stellar background. And coming up, it was literally, I just left not to end up dead in jail, to be honest, quite frankly, with everyone. And I ended up going off to school. And like most of us, well, particularly for myself, I can speak for myself. It was, what degree do you want? Whichever one makes the most money. That was my answer. And I ended up getting into pharmacy. And I'm a by any means necessary kind of guy. And I just could not pass organic 2. First time I withdrew, second time I failed, and then I ended up switching over to PT. That's how I ended up having to, before graduating, you got to get some shadowing hours. I got into that, and this is the portion of the journey I'm going to tell everyone, invest in yourself. And when I say invest in yourself, I don't mean just taking yourself out on a date or whatnot. It's really to truly invest in yourself and buy back your time. And at this point in time in my journey, I got into the home care space, and I either had 2 options: work in home care or go off to graduate school. In between those 2 years that I think it took me to get into graduate school, I ended up paying off all my debt, right? Consumer debt, undergraduate debt, and all that. And that bought me back time and options and opportunities. And that's how I was able to focus on this opportunity that came in. So everyone out there, you all have jobs, right? Imagine for a moment, your body shut down while you're at that job, forcing you to be down for 4 days and only getting up twice to urinate. See, that actually happened to me on the job. And it was due to a condition called caregiver burnout, which is a state of being in physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. And that is what happened to me. And that is what led to the next portion of my journey.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. So was that pretty common, you see, folks working in the healthcare space?
Yes, and I would definitely tell everyone watching now is that there's nothing better than perfect timing, and you can't really judge that. You just have to be aware of the conditions. I could have launched 2 years ago, right? I could have left the job and launched 2 years ago, but the pandemic heightened the solution I wanted to bring to the market, because people were leaving left and right, which ultimately led to multiple people coming into people's home. And it's like, how do I facilitate this?
Gotcha. So yeah, so that's your connection to the problem. And so what was kind of like that aha moment that said, well, you need to build something?
That aha moment was when my body shut down. That whole burnout situation, when that occurred to me, especially when you're taking care of somebody, we all have parents. If it's a parent or someone who you seem as a parent, we all want the best for that individual. And care was one thing that I wanted essentially for my boss, who turned into a great friend, who turned into a great mentor, right? That crafted me. I always tell people that his last 6 years of his life was like the beginning 6 years of my life. And I just wanted him to ensure that he was okay. And this guy was a millionaire. So this tells you that no matter how much money you have, no matter what race you are, care and the situations that we're attempting to resolve happens to everyone, right? And with that being said, it was because that happened, that's what led me to say, you know what, I have to take care of myself. So you guys have to put yourself first. You got to put your health first. And that was one thing that I realized I had to put myself first. And then that's how this solution came into the market. And this is not only for myself, this is 53 million unpaid caregivers in the United States that face this issue, having multiple people come into their home and them having to regurgitate the same information over and over.
Gotcha. So you got a question there, Mike?
Okay, Tia, I actually did not start. I guess the best way to say this is I became more knowledgeable as I bumped my head, right? And I didn't have the opportunity. I wish I would have met Mr. Lloyd Sr., 4 years ago, but that was not the case. I would definitely say that my mentor, my boss before he passed away, understanding what it takes to just build the lifestyle that he had, took a lot of certain disciplines. And I think the thing that gave me the knowledge and discipline was that those 2 years and 3 months that I did nothing, absolutely nothing. My friends thought I was going crazy. I didn't go out, didn't go shop, didn't do nothing, right? And I came from a flashy lifestyle, which is Miami. All I did was work, go to the gym, pray, meditate, go back to work, and work on care training, which had a different name at the point in time. It goes through different phases. And between those 2 years and 3 months, I just diligently did something, and that created the discipline in me necessary. And I think that's the same thing as the best practices, because it showed me how to be frugal. And at this point in time, I was making $100,000. Like, it showed me how to be frugal. It showed me that even though you have this money over here, you have to find creative ways to resolve this solution. Then you can avert to the money. So I think that's the best answer I have for you, Tia.
Yeah. So I think I would comment and see there are programs and opportunities out there, but until you realize that there is an ecosystem out there and there are programs, you're never going to really look, right?
Yeah, true.
You're never going to ask the question. And so for me, Mike, I didn't really know what was out there either, when I started coming up with these ideas for stuff. And so people start mentioning stuff to me, or I see something and get a little curious about it. And yeah. And so the first time you see if somebody's doing a pitch competition, well, maybe it's time to start working on an idea to enter in the pitch competition, right?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and then so I enter the pitch competition, don't get selected to pitch, but Microsoft gives me $60,000 worth of free cloud service. I said, what? You see what I'm saying? You don't really realize until you start participating, and then that's when you start learning. You have to start doing something, and once you start doing something, you'll start seeing what else is out there. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I also always surrounded myself, even though I couldn't be in those cohorts, I always surrounded myself around things that gave me a glimpse of what I wanted to do, right? So I will always watch Shark Tank, right? Because these are people that are just like us. They have this concept, people telling you you're crazy, or people are telling you, stick to your 9-to-5 job and don't go pursue that route. Mm-hmm. So I would always do stuff like read books, Lean Startup, any book, any question that I had, I went to a book first. Like, people are willing to more than likely help you if you've attempted to help yourself. And I've realized that throughout my journey. Yeah,
so that's a good nugget there, is to look at like the books and so how did you, when you saw that Lean Startup and you read that book, did you think it was the answer to what you were doing, or did you know how to apply what you learned in there?
I would say it answered the question I needed in that phase, right? Okay. It answered the question I needed in that phase or whatnot. And throughout your journey, there's going to be no one book is going to give you all the answers to your journey, because your journey is your journey to be had, right? And I don't really typically read books or listen to individuals for their answers. I listen to the knowledge that they have, and then I say, all right, what can I take away from that, and how can I implement it within my journey or whatnot? But I do think the Lean Startup got me to evidently be lean. And once again, it just goes back to that logic of thinking that money doesn't solve all your issues. Money won't solve all your problems, right? And people love individuals that can be creative, and you can get to a point where, once again, if you go back to that diagram that you displayed, that the money, when I give you the money, it needs to be poured onto something that you've already started, a small fire, and then it should ignite it.
Yeah. That's pretty.
Thank you, Tia.
Yeah. So I think this whole journey, being a founder is a journey, and I think that's part of the message we're trying to communicate here. And you're not going to know the secrets to every step on your journey.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that goes back to, I think, something you said on your other pitch competitions, like you, especially me being in a tech surrounding, right? That's not my strong suit. My strong suit is I bring the business domain and I created the idea itself, right? So you need to begin to find individuals that bring a different skill set from you because that makes the team stronger. And sadly to say, when individuals are looking to give you money, they are looking at the team entirely. And what different components do you guys bring to it to actually, so they can foresee you actually accomplishing that dream or that mission that you have in place?
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's the team, but so the question is, how did you pull your what was your approach to building your application? What did your team look like?
My team consists of myself. It consists of a full developer, and right now I'm working with CFO. I'm sorry, not a CFO, a customer relations individual who has relationships in that space. What was your journey of developing your platform, Quinn? My journey has been a long one, and I think many of us have had extended journeys. To keep it brief, my journey was a 5-year stint to get into this point. And within that 5-year stint, I had to make a decision because I was in the home care space, which means you provide direct care for someone, which ended up being my boss. And at that point in time, it was to make a decision. Should I leave this gentleman and his family? And I know I'm a critical part of the care team. And should I pursue this idea that I just had, right? Which came from the problems that we faced together. And I decided not to do that. And by the grace of God, that was the best thing that could have happened, because once again, I say timing is everything. If you look at YouTube, if you look at Facebook, right? Because when you think of Facebook, what was it called back then when I was in high school? It was
MySpace.
Look at you. MySpace, right? They absolutely did the same thing, but it was the timing, right? Was everything. And the pandemic was the perfect timing for me. So it was a 5-year stint. But one thing I always did was each day I did something small to get to the end goal of getting an application on the App Store to start that process. Every single day I did something. And I knew I was focused on buying my time back, which was the critical part of me getting out of debt. That gave me the option to begin to do other things. So once I got out of debt, I shaved down my time, or the amount of time I went to work. But I always did small things to try to figure out, like you said, the MVP. This was not my MVP. I had another MVP before this. All right. How can you solve problems in a lean way, which is I had an online platform, a web-based. I printed out stuff, and I tried to do that in so many ways. So take those 5 years. Yes, and take those 5 years. And one of the things I constantly did was I sold before I actually had a product. I always sold before I had a product out. But speak to anyone. And just so happens, this lady who was working on a contract with my co-founder now, said, I don't want you to meet some guys. And it ended up being this particular guy. Believe me, within those 5 years, it was not a waste, but it was a learning lesson, right? I tried outsourcing on Fiverr, I found some people in the Philippines that wasted 1.5 years. I found some local individuals. We didn't work out well. That took another 1.5 years. But nonetheless, fast forward, I ended up finding my founder because I always sold the product even before I had it. And then we got to this point in the journey where we finally got an app onto the App Store. And Mr. Lloyd Sr. spoke about resources. That's essentially what I leverage. People want to know that you have a skin in the game. And this is how you can truly test. Not particularly how I did it, but you have to test. Are you in love with the idea of pursuing what you're pursuing, or are you just it's something I want to do? These guys want to know that I was fully in. I withdrew $10,000 out of my bank account at the time. That's all I had. To go from 10,000 to zero is really scary, right? I withdrew that out of my account, gave it to these guys, and said, I'm all in. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in the major problem that we're going to solve. And then that's got us to this point.
Yeah. So you actually, so what kind of skills your co-founder has? I guess that's
my co-founder. He is a full stack developer. He's ran $1 million company before. He currently has a software company, right? So utilizing those resources, like once again that you said, is that we built this, right? So if you look at that from two different perspectives, they're gonna say, well, I built this MVP, I built this MVP with $10,000, right? And then if you look at the team holistically, I got at least $100,000, $60,000 worth of resources, right? Once again, like Microsoft gave you, right? I got $60,000, $100,000 worth of resources because that's the dev costs like $5,000 a month, but I wasn't seeing that cost. Like that was the point of bringing somebody else on. You guys already have a company, in-source it, right? Because I already knew from my previous down pitfalls, I know I need to keep it in-house. So my full-time developer not only knows how to manage millions worth of dollars, he also knows how to speak tech. I've learned really fast that it's certainly different. Like we think that, oh, change this button so they can say something else. It's totally different than that. It's so much more complicated than just moving a button.
Yeah. So like, well, one thing I guess that I can see that you really been, it's been really a journey for you, and you've been steadfast, and I will tell you, I've heard a lot of stories about, people who non-technical, and they get people to develop software for them.
You're welcome, Varsa.
Yeah. Yeah, they said it does take getting to about the third vendor after you didn't wasted money twice, to actually get to somebody that can actually do what you're doing, and that happens so many times. Yeah.
Absolutely. You're welcome, Quinn. I would definitely recommend also, especially when it comes to technology, I did not spend a dime when it came to those other two individuals. I was, once again, I was lean. After reading that book, I want to be lean. Hey, can you get this mock-up for me? If the mock-up makes sense when I take it to the next person, then I'll come back to you. So it was just those things that were taking so long. But I definitely would say, don't put yourself in that crisis, that hole. Definitely think lean. You don't have the money, definitely think in a lean manner. How can I resolve this without me spending millions of dollars? Because you don't have it.
Yeah. Well, and that's what the Lean Startup methodology is all about. And that's why I use the term best practices. What's the best practices for building a startup? So, like here in Pensacola, we have some founders and that are backed by these rich lawyers, and they don't follow the methodology, but these rich lawyers can keep bailing them out.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we don't have that option, to be that way. And that's why the Lean Startup methodology is so important. And I can't speak enough about the Lean Stack training, because it's actually literally you actually learning the best practice. Ash has been in the game, for well over 10 years, and he's working with all these founders. He's working with all these corporate innovation programs, and he's teaching what he's learned. To me, that's having access to that is pretty neat.
Yeah, definitely. And then the last one was my individual. She's on the team now, is my customer relationships officer, and she's based in New York. One thing I would always say, the app is fantastic. It is solving a problem of our generation. Thank you. One thing I would say is always gravitate towards people who have more knowledge than you in the space that you want to be in. And this young lady has the connections and definitely has a lot of knowledge on the other portion of the things that I did not know within this space. And together, we're definitely able to get further on. Once again, this EYL, this InvestFest, that's the young lady who sent me the information. That's the young lady who's flying from New York. We've never met in person. Who's flying from New York to get there, but we've met online and stuff like that. And I would definitely tell you guys, take advantage of social media in a sense of selling to the world. Even if you don't have a product, just bring value. You never know who you'll meet.
It definitely sounds like you're using some unique strategies and for actually building your startup here. So like the textbook thing from the lean stack is that you you get your foundation, understand what it is like to be a founder, understand how the innovation economy works, continuous innovation works, and then you actually design your business model, based on all these principles that just and you validate whether your business model is, whether people are going to like the approach you're doing or like your product or service, whether your business is viable, and then whether it's feasible or not. And so that, getting that stuff down. So what Ash is saying with his model is that if you spend a month doing that, and then you can actually convince a co-founder or whatever you're missing, you can actually pull these people in. And then once you pull them in, then you should be able to build an MVP within 2 months.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to that point, I would definitely tell everyone that's watching, everyone that's listening to, with your team, know what drives your team. Did your developer use no code, low code, or mock up your app first? He did both. So we did the mock up. Then he did all the code. All the code is in-house. We did 2 different companies and then jointed it. So the application is actually owned by one entity. So that's how we got to that point. And I would definitely say, know what motivates everyone on your team, right? I know what motivates my developer. I know what motivates Tutu. I know what motivates Corrine, right? The CRO. Understand that it is your vision, is your baby. So you can't expect everyone to be as excited as you are when times get tough, right? Which means when things get slow, when things slow down or a sale doesn't come in, you got to understand you have to always think about, how do I keep the next person motivated? And I know what motivates each one of these individuals. Did you develop or use no code? Okay, that's the same thing.
So yeah, so you said did you answer saying your developer did use some no code, and so I think that's the gist of what Vercel, like they use one of the no code platforms and customize some of the code. I guess that's another way to.
It was we did use a lot of open source things, AWS, all those things. A lot of the open source things are there, so that'll cut down on a lot of expenses, right? And then we went in and built in everything customized.
Okay, gotcha. So that, I think that sounds more like traditional coding.
Mm-hmm.
When he's saying no code, he's talking about something like Bubble or some of these other things.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I just want to make
traditional coding.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see, we've got another question here.
An average day for me was, once again, I still had my 9-to-5 job, right? I just determined that I did not want to leave my boss. So every day, the first thing that I did was I leveraged my opportunity. So I started signing up for a bunch of grants and stuff. And if I was getting closer and closer to winning those grants, that was one thing, always filling out those. Then I adjusted. I always brought value first. So I brought a lot of value to the job. And then I adjusted my time frame. So I needed a few more times to meet with the individuals, my co-founders at the point in time. So then I changed my schedule because I used to work from 8 to 8. Then I began working from 2 to 8. So between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m., I started fully just throwing things to the wall. And then once again, it was just always managing with my co-founder at the time, with the group at the time. Hey, this is how I want it to look. And then I'll always go into speaking with people, be in the field and speak to your customers if you can find them. Gotcha. So that's typically how it looks. Then I will go back to work, manage that, go home, work out, and then work back at it again and plan for the next day.
There's another question.
Okay, so I am not, the only compensation that I've had to do was the 10 grand that I liquidated, right? And that was to prove that I was all in, right? I had skin in the game. That was the first portion of it. Second portion of it was The only reason I was that confident to do that is not because I had the 10 grand, because at any point in time I could have spent the 10 grand, right? Is because I finally met somebody that believed in me, right? Because I knew the vision, the journey to get to the end of the road to this vision, or to get to the point where I needed to get to, was going to be a long one. So I found somebody that truly believed in me. And then the vision became a part of it. So if somebody believes in you, whatever crazy vision you have, because they solely believe in you, that's how my co-founder is still here. Even when a sale may not be coming on, even when there's one sale here, 2 sales here.
Yeah, so I'm glad Abraham asked that question, because a lot of times, you take stuff for granted. But when we look at the journey of a founder, so this is, I want to make sure everybody understands this. So lean means you not really paying salaries and stuff like that in the beginning. You get a developer co-founder, and that developer co-founder earns equity in your deal. But you can't get a person willing to do that if you can't pitch your idea clearly and concisely, and your business model is so that co-founder is going to have to believe that your business model is viable, and that they join up with you to build it. And that's where the value comes from, is you create something, and it keeps increasing in value the further it gets along, and that's how your company becomes more valuable, even if you haven't even launched, sometimes. Yeah, but that's really what the deal is. And so, but the point I really want to make when I said what Ash says this ideal thing is, you spend 30 days, understanding the foundation and designing your business model. Okay, and then you start pitching your idea to a potential co-founder, or a potential financial person, or a potential legal person, and you pitching it to get them to buy in that you got a business model, an idea that this product, people going to want it, they're going to love it, and then you've designed a business model that's viable, it's sustainable, it's going to get there, and so most of these things are feasible. So if you can satisfy those 3 requirements, and you can recruit the people that you need to move forward, is what sounds like that's what happened with you. But when you met this co-founder, they wasn't, they wanted to make sure you were all in.
Absolutely. And when I say domain expertise, you need to have, I said I bring the domain expertise, you need to have it, but there's always somebody out there that knows more than you. But I certainly overwhelmed them with the information that I knew. But I was clear enough and concise enough to understand this is not how it's going to work out 100%, but this is the business model. This is how we're going to make money, because that's all everybody cares about. How are we going to make money? And then things will evolve over time, but this is how we're going to make money.
Yeah.
And this is how broad the market is.
Yeah, so that's good. So it takes time to comprehend some of this stuff, but that's the whole purpose of these events, is to kind of help you learn the best practices and because
Ronald, monetization and sales going. I'm gonna be honest with you. That is a tough one, because people in this space are still. I'm in a space that hasn't been changed in the last 20 years, so they're still stuck on certain methodologies that they've used in the past. That's the first portion of it. The second portion of it is, that's why when Mr. Lloyd presented that chart that he presented, that's why I said I was there, because what you do want is, I haven't found monetization because I have not found a sales cycle that, regardless what happens, it's always going to give me customers. Right now, I'm doing things that don't scale, right? So every customer I'm speaking to, every person that could be a potential customer I'm speaking to, or I'm doing things where I'm actually going to knock on doors and say, do you hire home care agencies? You're going to have this problem. I can solve it. So I think we're getting closer to that as we travel, as we're going to go travel to New York, because they're using a certain kind of program that we can fit into. But we haven't found monetization yet, but we are getting closer.
Yeah. So did you kind of convince your co-founder based on the kind of need your um, for your product or service? So just kind of tell us what your idea of your revenue model actually is. So like you is it like a subscription or
We
something?
use we use a subscription-based model, which means each individual person that we bring in, we're charging them a monthly fee, right?
Okay.
That's the bread and butter. We charge each end consumer, which is the 53 million unpaid family caregivers in the United States. That's our market, right? Sandwich generation, if you dumb it down. If you dwindle it down just another notch. And then we know who our customer avatar is, and then we sell to that individual. And once we sell to that individual, the problem that they have is that they're hiring outside providers, which is a home care agency or private individuals to provide care for their parent. And because of the high turnover in the industry, which is at 60% within 90 days, that is for every 10 people that an agency hires or a company hires, 9 of them are going to leave. 6 of them are going to leave, right? And families get the tail end of that, which means that those people that I'm bringing into my home, you have no choice but to see multitudes of them. You're going to see a multiple of them each day or each month. Our solution helps them solve that problem, because what happens is you all have kids, you all probably have kids, relatives, families, and what happens is if Lloyd is my father and I want to take care of him, but I have a 9 to 5 job, I'm going to hire help to come in the home. One thing that's going to give me peace of mind is that I'm going to ensure that that person coming into my home knows what to do for my dad, how to do it. But the portion of that is taxable, is not sustainable, is that I have to physically be there. We eliminate the need for me to have to physically be in the home to ensure that he's getting the care and that they know how to provide the exact care for him.
Yeah. So so yeah. So so your customer is the person who's responsible for taking care of the family member or
That's
whoever.
correct. That is
Okay.
correct.
Okay. So so what are some like positive outcomes? So does the person end with using your application end up with better healthcare outcomes?
Well, so that is what we're looking to do, pilots, because that's one thing, especially when you're wanting to get government money, you need to prove factual data, right? So that's why we're looking to do pilots in the up and coming months. We have that lined up.
Yeah.
But what essentially will happen is consistency will be better, which is because agencies that are sending out individuals, there's just a multitude of people coming out. They don't have the capacity, because I just told you guys about the turnaround rate in the industry, right? They don't have the manpower to ensure that each person going into your home knows what Lloyd Sr. likes, what Lloyd Sr. does, how he does it, and how it should be done. Our application allows whoever comes into the house to have a picture perfect understanding of what my father would need
Well,
and how
so,
to do it.
but who's footing the bill for the care of those people to come in the house? Do these people have insurance or who?
Okay,
Who?
so we're looking at you have two types, right? So you have a customer that's a boomer, and then you have two types of that. You have private pay individuals, which is they just have enough discretionary cash.
Yeah.
That's the low hanging fruit for us. That's the low
Okay.
hanging fruits. They're very difficult to get to, but that's the low hanging fruits,
Hmm.
right? And then you have Medicaid individuals, and that is the much broader. That is what blows up our business. Those are the 53 million unpaid caregivers. A good portion of them are those individuals. And right now is a format called CDPAP, Consumer Direct Care, that we're targeting, and it's in every state, but it's really utilized in certain states. That's why we're going to New York and partner up with some people there.
Hmm.
But that is where it explodes. The low hanging fruit is the private direct pay individuals, it's discretionary cash, and then you use the Medicaid, and then Medicaid will be paying.
Yeah. So one of the things that um, often gets overlooked with founders is that these corporate accelerator programs. So like so we would call your application a health technology.
Mm-hmm.
So when you looking at all these pitch competitions, all these other things, you can look at those, but you could literally focus on all the stuff that caters to health technology, and then that sort of narrows the field down to help you move forward. But ultimately, you have to. So me, for instance, whenever somebody has a product or service, I always look at all the ways that product or service can be used. So is there a version of your product that that can be used, in adult living facilities, hospitals, or whatever, that to help them manage a lot better? Because I got a feeling, the way a lot of the healthcare industry, I don't think stuff is managed the way you're managing it, through this app.
Absolutely not. To answer Ronald's question, yes, that's why we're looking to do pilots, because one thing the government wants to do, especially when they start to spit out money towards you or provide you with money, is they want data research-based things, right? We want to prove it out. And places like SBIR, NIR, they're the ones that's going to display money. Like, you just got to get into those fields or into those pockets of places for them to provide you money with. So that's certainly something we're focused on, Ronald. To answer Mr. Lloyd's question, the system, the way that the system is built, it's built for a direct-to-consumer situation. And now, what you're saying, that definitely gets us a chunk of clients all at once. But what has happened is that the system, because the system is not built out like that for them, that's more technology that we have to add into it. So another cost, right? And then that also goes into the third portion of it is, this is why the people that we're wanting to serve, those 53 million unpaid caregivers, is the reason why we should and will be successful, because they've always been underserved. LTCs, long-term care facilities, SNFs, nursing skill facilities, they've always have tech, right? The tech may not be the perfect one, but they always got money and technology thrown towards them.
Gotcha. Yeah, so like I'm hoping that, when you participate in these couple of events you've got coming up there, that you definitely make some more connections, but definitely what I recommend also is that you kind of take a look at some of the stuff in the lean stack, like we were doing there, and so how are you connecting with mentors now? I guess that's my big question there.
I would love to have a mentor on my team. Right now, who I have on my team is Vaughn Williams he's stationed in California. And, when you get into a larger pitch competition, or you get into pitch competition, just like you guys did with the Lean Startup, you provide them with you provide them with mentors. And that's exactly what they did. So I've been using him thus far. And, you'll establish a relationship and go from there. But hopefully, that's the point of going to Atlanta this weekend too, is hopefully we can snag a mentor. We've done our research. We know who we want to target. We're making small gift bags for each individual that's personalized. So know who you want, know who you need on your team, and go after them.
Yeah. And before we came on air, as we wrapping up here, I was letting you know the Goody Nation. It's really a good program to get in, goodynation.org, because they got a founders portal, and so that portal has all these people from all these Fortune 500 companies, all these people are willing to mentor. They all have different expertise, and so you have one-stop shopping to get connected to what you need, and that goes for all the founders out there. You can apply for that Goody Nation thing.
It's .com, correct, Mr. Lloyd? It's
.org.
Oh, okay, that's why. Okay, she just told me it led nowhere.
Okay, yeah. So let me see if I can bring the portal up just to kind of give you an idea of what.
Okay.
And we'll wrap up here.
Okay.
So everybody get your questions in, so we can wrap up here the last minute. And by the way, do you got any parting comments that you want to give to the audience?
Yes, certainly. One, if you don't take away anything, everybody's journey is going to be different. Nobody has the answers for your journey, and nobody can tell you how to walk your journey, because evidently you have to walk through it and it'll unfold how it needs to unfold. If I had to give you guys one takeaway, it is to find a way to buy back your time. And essentially, what I did was I got out of debt. That gave me a lot of opportunities, right? Which means you have the option to work kind of certain jobs in a sense, and then from there, I work on this 24/7, and you have to have money to live. So what I did was, once again, I took a gamble on myself, invested in myself, not a huge one, but I bought a duplex, which you see me sitting in now. Next door is another duplex. I'm sorry, is another unit, and I Airbnb those out. I travel on the road and I do what's necessary. I go sleep on friends' couches. I rent out my car on Turo. Whatever needs to be done for you to accomplish the journey, and for these spiritual individuals out there that the Lord has put in front of you, you need to do it.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, it sounds like you a man with the plan there. Working all the angles to kind of move forward. But like you have these coaches or mentors that's got all this different expertise, and so once you become a member of the Goody Nation, you get access to this portal to kind of connect with the kind of expertise that you need. And so what I like about this whole program is you do weekly progress reports and you have weekly huddles. So you have that accountability thing. And so you're surrounded by a bunch of other founders at all times. And so most of the successful Black founders throughout the country, they're connected to this Goody Nation thing.
Do you know how much is the subscription, or how much it costs to be on there?
No, you just apply. There's no cost.
Oh, say no more. I'm doing that when I get off here. I'm on it.
Well, you can blame it if I'm recommending something. There's no cost associated with it.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what that. And Joy's a good guy. We had him on Startup on the Blocks, and yeah, he's all about the relationships and stuff like that. But the good news about this, and they do a lot of things all through the week, but you're connected to all the big programs. Google for Black founders, Google for Hispanic founders, Google for women founders. All the major programs. You got direct connection. So that's what's neat about that. All righty, so I guess we can kind of wrap it up. We thank everybody for chiming in today. There's always so next week we'll do a resource guest that's so we can kind of these are next week. So like this company has a grant from the Minority Business Development Center. And so to help you with strategy to connect you to kind of move forward. And I think next week there is a meeting for the group, the Southeast Business Hub out of Atlanta as well. That's also supposed to be supporting you as a founder. And so there's all these resources out here, but you have to kind of get connected to them and extract value out of them. And so our job is to kind of if you go through the training and actually learn the Lean Stack business model design training and follow some of these other best practices, you can have a better chance of getting into these programs.
I certainly appreciate the emails that you send out, because I'm actually filling out some stuff now from the last email I think that you sent out to my Gmail. So guys, please take advantage of that.
All right. Well, we thank you for being here today, and it looks like you've got a lot of audience engagement with you. So I just want to make sure a lot of thank yous out there from Tia.
Thank you, Tia.
Pat. So you got I think you're the first guest that's getting all these comments. I have never seen this many comments coming.
Thank you, Mr. Beth.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your passion and everything. So everybody, go ahead and click the link for next week's event, get signed up, and so we can have another great event. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you so much.
All right.